Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a March book haul. So I was originally going to do all of January and February, but there'd be a lot of books. So I am just going to be doing March. So we have 16 books. So not the worst that I've ever done, but probably could have been better. So when my husband watches this, pretend you didn't see any of this. Let's get started. So first I'm going to talk about two books that I got from the grocery store because I can't even control myself at the grocery store. So they're both thrillers and they're little tiny versions of the books, which I love. Hairpin and the Sorority Murders. So Hairpin is by Taylor Adams. She was the author of No Exit, which is pretty much my main reason for getting this book because I loved No Exit. I thought it was an amazing book. It was a 5-star book for me. No, I did not watch the Hulu movie because I only got about 5 minutes in it and then I turned it off. So I've heard mixed reviews about Hairpin, but I really wanted to give it a chance because I really loved No Exit, and to be honest, I'm not that complicated when it comes to thriller books. I really like thriller books. I'm really not that hard to please when it comes to thrillers. If there's a twist, I'm gonna like it probably. It looks like Hairpin is about a woman whose sister supposedly jumped off a bridge, and she does not buy that she actually jumped off the bridge. She thinks there's foul play going on, so she goes and decides to basically solve her sister's possible murder. I think it sounds good. I've heard mixed reviews that it's not quite what people wanted from her next book, but I feel like that happens a lot. Like No Exit was super popular. It was so good. So I feel like it's really hard to follow up a book that's really good. People probably wanted like another huge standout book, and sometimes that just doesn't happen. So I'm going to put No Exit aside and read this like I would any other thriller, and hopefully I like this one. So the next one that I got from the grocery store is the Sorority Murder. Actually, this was on my list for a while and I was really excited about this book, and then I heard mixed reviews about it as well. I feel like a lot of thriller books have mixed reviews, and I mean, I get why. It's really hard to come up with original ideas. So, oh, this also had one of my buzzwords in it. So, a lot of the thrillers that I like include podcasts, because I love podcasts, and I think it's really fun to read about podcasters because it's kind of like a behind the scenes look. It's also why I like books about Hollywood. So the Sorority Murders is about a man who works for the medical examiner's offices as an intern, and he becomes obsessed with one of the cases that no one else really seems to care about. So he decides to come up with a podcast to crowdsource and try and figure out what really happened to this girl. I think it sounds fun. I think it's going to be a quick read. And I love these little books. They're so cute. So the next book was kind of an impulse buy, and mostly because I've just seen it everywhere, especially one of the YouTubers that I watch. I watch Chelsea Palmer. She's like a romance, sometimes fantasy YouTuber, and so she got this book and I had to have it. I saw it. It's a special edition of the cover because I don't read that much romance. Like, I read romance in my other books. Like, I like a good romance in my books, but I don't normally read straight romance. So anyway, the book that I picked up was The Fine Print. I'm sure you've all seen this because it is floating around everywhere because it is gorgeous. I mean, come on. So The Fine Print by Lauren Asher is part of the Dreamland Billionaires series. Like I said, I don't really normally read romances like this. It's definitely probably going to be on the more spicy side. The romances that I normally read look like they're light and fluffy. There's not a lot of dark going on in the books. I don't know if this is dark. I hope it's not that dark because I don't know if I'll be able to handle it. But basically it follows two characters, which is, I feel like, really common in romance books, is to have both the male and the female storyline. And it is about a fake Disney World and the new owner, basically. So I think it's like the grandfather passed or the father passed on the amusement park to the sons, because I know there's multiple books. I know there's multiple, like, grandsons. So this one follows Rowan, and he hires some girl named Zara. So I hope it's just not, but I've heard pretty good things about it, so I don't know. I mean, I'll give it a shot. Even if I don't like it, I'm gonna keep the cover. Probably I'm gonna keep it because, I mean, look at the cover. It also feels really nice. Like, it's got a nice heft to it. It's very well made. You can tell the publishing house put a lot of work into this book. Pages are super nice. The headings have little roller coasters on them, which I think is a really good touch, and it creates like a really cool effect. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it creates a cool effect. But yeah, so the fine print. If you're wondering how this would turn out, because I think you can only get it on, I think you can only get this edition on Amazon currently. I'm not exactly sure. So I would pick it up though, because if you were looking at this and you wanted this, I know it's a special edition. I know the second book is also a special edition, so I don't know how long these are actually going to be available for. They've been available for a while now. I mean, I was able to pick it up and I knew this was out for a while, but you don't want to accidentally miss it, because then you'd have to buy it secondhand and probably at an outrageous cost. So, romance. We're going to try this out. I'm probably going to read this in April. Maybe. Oh boy. The next book that I picked up, it was my most anticipated book of March, actually, and I've already read it. It's not really a popular book, but I mean, it's not an indie published book. Like, it was published through Underlined, which I know is they put out a lot of books. I think they put out a lot of horror books, actually, specifically young adult horror. It was my most anticipated book, and unfortunately, I read it like the day I got it, and I knew it had bad ratings, so I didn't like go into it super hyped either. Like, I went into it like, ooh, this could be a disaster, but I was still like hoping for the best. And unfortunately, it was a fun read, but it wasn't everything that I wanted from this book, and that's really sad. So my most anticipated book of March was actually Horror Hotel, and probably mostly because of the cover. The cover is so pretty. I just like the little ghosts in the corner right there. Kind of freaked me out because I didn't see it the first time. And then I was looking at it late at night and I was like, maybe I shouldn't be looking at that. I really enjoy young adult horror. It is why this book was at the top of my list. I really like young adult horror. I feel like I need to have an own separate video about why I like young adult horror most of the time more than regular horror, which is, like, I know, blasphemous, but you know, you're gonna like what you're gonna like. And I'm like that pretty much with my horror movies as well. I like teen slashers over the overly gory adult stuff, especially the stuff coming out on streaming platforms right now. It's just too much for me. So, Horror Hotel is a young adult horror written by Victoria Fulton and Faith McLaren. It follows a group of teenage ghost hunters who have promised their followers that they're going to go stay on Halloween weekend at a fictional hotel. Something you need to know before you go into this book is it's art mimicking real life. So the fictional hotel is based after the Cecil Hotel, which, if you know anything about the Cecil Hotel, there's a lot of bad stuff that went down there. So I'm not going to really go into that. You can find another YouTube video about that if you don't know about the Cecil Hotel. I think it's actually being redesigned into low-income housing, which is probably the best thing that can happen to this hotel. Hopefully the bad luck does not follow, because it seems like bad luck follows this hotel through the decades. Anyway, if you do know about Cecil Hotel, then you know about the Elisa Lam case, and this basically loosely follows. They're trying to figure out what happened to a fake Elisa Lam in a fake Cecil Hotel. So if you're a little sensitive to authors using real life in their books, then I would definitely avoid this, because it doesn't go into like any like details or anything, but it still is a little morbid for some people. So they go and they stay at the fake Cecil Hotel and basically ghost hunt. And of course, nothing can go as planned, and they end up finding a dead body, which it's not really a spoiler, but I also didn't know that that's what they were gonna find. I kind of wished it had just been like them hunting ghosts instead of turning it into this like mystery thing. I kind of just wanted them to like focus on their original goal and talk to ghosts and talk to like the current residents there. So I thought it was a little all over the place, and I feel like that happens a lot of times when you get two authors. It's almost like there's too many ideas. So I feel like this actually could have been two separate books. Like half of the book belongs in a thriller, half of the book belongs in a horror. So, but I'm still gonna keep it because I love this cover. And it was fun to read. I had a fun time, and it's really short. So if you're looking for like a fun little horror novel, especially in October, I would recommend this just because it's short, it's fun. It'll probably knock off some reading lists for you guys. If you do readathons in October, this would be a really good one, because I think it's really big print, and it's only like 200 pages. So really, it's decent. It's good for a short story. So the next two books that I got were actually from the Barnes & Noble, like the Barnes & Noble picks that they do every month, which I love. I love that Barnes & Noble does like the 50% off picked, or like buy one get one 50% off, because most of the time they're books that I've wanted but I didn't want to spend the money on because I buy so many books. So this month I ended up getting two from, I think they pick like five. So I ended up getting the young adult pick, I believe, and a speculative fiction pick. So I got House of Hollow, which I'm sure most of you have heard about, and The Library of the Dead, which I also feel like everyone's heard about. So I was really excited for House of Hollow. I almost bought a hardcover copy of it, and I love the cover. It seems weird, and I feel like weird works well with young adult horror, because young adult horror is all about atmosphere and the characters, because they have to like stay within confines. That's why I like young adult horror. They can't go too gruesome. They can't have a lot of gratuitous sex, violence. I don't want to read 10 pages about someone's arm being ripped off, and young adult horror doesn't do that. They have to rely on characters and atmosphere. So the main character has two sisters. They went missing when they were younger for a month, came back. As they grow, you can tell something's off with them, even though they try to act normal. When they get older, one of the other sisters disappears, and our main character has to find her. I am really excited to read this one. This is probably one I will definitely get to in April. I keep saying hopefully because I'm not a TBR reader at all. I will make a TBR and then read maybe 3 of the books out of like 10 that I pick, because I'm a mood reader. Especially if I read something bad. Like if I read a fantasy book I don't like, I don't want to immediately pick up another fantasy. I'll read like 4 thrillers in a row until I get tired of it, and then I'll go back to fantasy or pick up a romance. So I'm really bad at sticking to TBRs, and so I don't do that well with readathons or reading prompts, because I'm just not good at it. That's just that. It's just very mysterious. So I feel like I'm not gonna actually know what this is about until I actually read it, which is fine by me. That's fun. So the other book is The Library of the Dead, which, again, such a pretty cover. I've been wanting this book for a while because if you've seen, I think it's the Goldsboro version, the hardcover that has like the gorgeous sprayed edges that look like a map. It's so pretty. Unfortunately, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on that secondhand. So I waited for the paperback, and luckily Barnes & Noble did the buy one, get one 50% off, and I actually like this cover better. I think it looks really cool. I'm also really excited because it's blurbed by Charlaine Harris, who writes the True Blood series, but if you don't know her writing and you like cozy mysteries, I would highly suggest her Aurora Teagarden series. It's a lot different than the Hallmark series, so don't immediately go, oh, it's Hallmark, it's cheesy. It's not. It's actually a little darker than the Hallmark series. Hallmark kind of pepped it up a little bit. It's a lot more in depth. That series is really good. Her Aurora Teagarden series, her True Blood series was good for like the first couple books. And then I feel like any series that gets to like 14 books long, it just starts getting weird. It just starts getting weird. All I know about this book is that it's a girl who speaks to the dead, and something's going on with the kids in the town, and she's going to try and figure it out. And it has to do with a hidden library. So anything that has a hidden library, I'm most likely going to read. I feel like everyone on BookTube is most likely going to read. So I'm pretty excited about this one. This might be one that I save. I don't know. I'm trying to decide when to read some of these books because I like to read. Sometimes I like to read books at certain times of the year. So Library of the Dead seems like a really good one for October, but October is forever away. So I don't know if I really want to wait that long. So we'll see when I get to this. So the next book that I have is actually my second copy of this book. The first copy that I got was in February from Fairy Loot, and the copy that I'm going to show you is the Owl Crate copy that I got this month. It is Only a Monster, and I actually absolutely hate this cover. Unfortunately, I really don't like this cover, and I don't like the changes that Owl Crate made to it. Normally I'm pretty much like, I'm not picky. I pretty much like the changes that they make most of the time, but I really don't like the green lady on the cover. So this is one that I've read. I read this book already. I read it pretty much when I got it last month because it was one of my most anticipated books of the year because it's a Morley Gray book. I love Morley Gray books. I love Morley Gray characters. I think they're really fun. When I play Dungeons and Dragons every once in a while with my friends. I play Morley Gray characters, so I really appreciate a good Morley Gray character. And I could not wait to read this because it's blurbed by Naomi Novik, who writes A Deadly Education, Stephanie Garber, who writes the Caravel series, and Chloe Gong, who writes These Violent Delights. Three of my most favorite authors. I love all of them. I devour everything that they write. I already have pre-ordered Chloe Gong's continuation of her These Violent Delights series called, I think it's Foul Lady Fortune. But yeah, I pre-ordered that the second it came out. But anyway, back to what this book is about. So the main characters are monsters. They're not human. They look human, but they're not. They are time-traveling monsters, which sounds a bit odd now that I'm saying it, but it's actually really cool. So our main character doesn't know she's a monster. She finds out really early on. Like, that's not a spoiler, it's the point of the book. And the whole book is about her trying to fix the timeline. That's all I say about it because there's a lot of spoilers in this book. There's a lot that goes on in this book. It feels like a trilogy in one book. It's very impressively written. I loved this book. If you don't like time travel, like me, because I hate time travel in books. There's too many loopholes from time travel. It drives me nuts. So if the book says time travel, I'm not gonna buy it. I probably would have bought this anyway because I didn't know there was time travel. I just knew there was Morley Gray characters that were monsters. I didn't know there were time traveling monsters. So just know they do it really well. There's really not that many loopholes. And it was smart the way that she did it. So I would highly suggest picking this up. This is a really fun read. I would suggest the UK cover. I mean, maybe you guys like this, but the UK cover is really pretty. So the next book I'm actually going to show very briefly because it is the Fairy Loot March book. And it is the Fairy Loot edition. So I know their boxes can run late sometimes, especially to other countries. So I don't want anyone to have spoilers that they don't want to see. So go ahead a couple of minutes if you don't want to see the book. So anyway, the Fairy Loot book was Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And it is definitely not a book that I normally would pick up. So here is the Fairy Loot edition of, as usual, it is beautiful, and it is the UK cover with their like little changes to it. There are the sprayed edges, which are stunning, as usual. I mean, they're just so pretty. Back, and then there's art actually in the book, which I really, really like. I love when art is physically in the book instead of on the dust jacket, because I'm not going to reverse the dust jacket. It's a pain. I hate refolding the dust jacket. It's just, it never comes out right. So I will avoid doing that. So I like having art on the inside of the actual physical book. So anyway, Daughter of the Moon Goddess is definitely not a book I would normally pick up. It's, even though I really like fantasy, it's focused on a mother-daughter relationship, it seems like. And I don't really like stories that focus on family. Like, I like found family stuff, friends, but I don't like family problems. It's not really normally something I'm a huge fan of. It's just not, it's not my thing. But because this came in Fairy Loot, I'll give it a shot because I tend to really like Fairy Loot books. I have a really good track record with them. I think there was only one book that I DNF'd and I really didn't like, and it was Fire with Fire, Fire with Fire with Fire. Something Fire and something Fire. So, but it looks like this one is about, it's really hard to describe a book when you don't actually know what it's about. Oh, she was apparently raised on the moon. Probably, I guess, should have guessed that with it being called Daughter of the Moon Goddess. She has to go into hiding when her magic flares, and she basically goes and gets training, and she has to come back and save her mom. So that's, again, pretty much all that I know about this book. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this. This is a chunky book, and sometimes I put off chunky books. So maybe what I'll do is read this and then read some of the horror books that I have. That way I can break up a thick fantasy book like this with a couple more easier fast reads. Next, we're gonna do the March Young Adult Unplugged book box. You know what, I said it was March Fairy Loot, but it's not March Fairy Loot. It is February Fairy Loot. Daughter of the Moon Goddess is February Fairy Loot. Everything is done. Just pretend. Unplugged book box's choice for March Young Adult book was Extasia. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Again, another cover I really don't like, but a book I'm really excited about. It is a young adult horror. Shocker. Starting to see a trend here. I didn't realize how many young adult horrors I actually picked up. This book, I didn't even know existed until it came in the box, which is, again, why I'm excited about it, because it is a young adult horror, had never heard about it, and it is about exorcists, which is interesting. Basically, it just says the main character is going to stand against evil that has killed some people in this village. So, and there's beasts that follow people. So, again, I really don't know that much about this book other than that. Again, so many books that would have been good in October. So the next book was another Fairy Loot book, but it was like a special, like, separate buy. So I'm gonna go ahead and show it because they have mock-ups on their page. So this is, actually, I accidentally have 2 copies of this. I didn't realize this was an older book. So I have like the normal copy that I got from a Beacon book box last year. And I bought this copy because I didn't know, but I'm glad I did because it's gorgeous. So the next book is Thorn. I mean, that's so pretty. Like I almost hate touching books this pretty because I feel like my grubby fingers are gonna like ruin the cover, or like my fingernails are gonna scratch it and then I'm gonna freak out. I don't let my husband touch any of these books because if he does, it'll cause us to divorce. I'm kidding. I know he's watching this, so I'm kidding. Stunning book. It has actually really good reviews. Not a lot of people have read it though. So first of all, let's do a quick look at the book. Beautiful foiling on the front, pink and blue. There is these sprayed edges. They're so beautiful. This is perfect color. Although I hate me saying this. It reminds me of the yogurt that I used to get as a kid, like the cotton candy Trickster for Kids yogurt, which really makes me actually want some now. I loved that stuff. So anyway, pink, blue. Pink goes up to the top. Blue goes down the bottom. There is a beautiful ribbon. I love when ribbons are in books. It makes me very happy. And this is, even though I own a copy, I don't know what this book is about. I know it's a fantasy book, so I'll probably like it. So it says that it's about a princess who longs to escape the confines of her royal life. She is betrothed to a prince from another kingdom. There's a sorceress that robs her of identity and rules prince. He's the opportunity to start her new life. Oh, okay, I remember what this is now. It's the story of Goose Girl, which I actually don't know, but it's apparently a retelling of Goose Girl, if you guys know what that is. I probably should have looked that up. Anyway, so she basically becomes a nobody, and she's got to figure out how basically to get back to who she is. So, again, don't know when I'm going to get to this book. Gosh, there's already some scratches on the front. Just from generally just being around my other books. Anyway, it sounds like a good book. I haven't read it yet, even though I've had it for a year, so I make no promises when I will actually read this book. Then on to the controversial book that I'm sure you've seen in book groups and everywhere on the internet, but it is the famous Waterstones edition of the Atlas 6. Yeah, I did not get the Illumicrate copy because I was getting this one, and I'm getting the Fairy Loot adult copy of this book because I believe that's what their March book is supposed to be, April book is supposed to be. One of the books is supposed to be. It's the first box for the adult box. It's gonna be this book. So I got this book, as everyone did. You see how the gold foiling on the front? So the mock-up for Waterstones showed what looked like gold sprayed edges on the side, but they are not gold. They are yellow. I don't hate it. I don't hate it as much as other people did. I don't like feeling like I was lied to, because I saw someone luckily took a screenshot of the original before they changed it. They changed it on their site. At least that's what it seems like. It seems like they changed it, because I definitely remember it looking gold in the mock-up. So I don't know if when they got around to actually spraying it, it was too expensive, or it just didn't work right. I don't know what the case is, but it would have been nice for them to have told people, because there's no way that they didn't know that we thought it was gold. I mean, come on. So anyway, someone I guess took a screenshot of it and showed that it looked gold originally, and then if you go on the website now, it does look yellow. It's deckled edges. I would not have gotten it. Actually, I can't say that. I don't know if I would have gotten it if it was yellow, because they are really pretty, but I probably would have gotten the Illumicrate version instead. So I'm a little annoyed by that. But they're very well done. Like, they look really good. I feel lied to. And I don't enjoy feeling lied to. But anyway, moving on. If you don't know about this book, I don't know where you've been. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. So this version is like a finished copy of it. Originally it was like an indie published book on Amazon, or it was published somewhere that it wasn't traditionally published at first, and it had a really cool cover actually originally. So of course I jumped on the bandwagon because I love dark academia. My buzzwords are dark academia. If you want me to read a book, just say the words dark academia and I am there. So I don't care how bad the ratings are on a book. If it says dark academia, I'm gonna read it. Now if it says it's like The Secret History, we're gonna have problems because I hated that book. But that's for another video. It's getting a little unhinged in here when I bring up books I don't like, because I got some strong feelings, especially about that one. My husband knows too. He was traumatized after I read that book because he never heard the end of it. I still talk about it, how much I don't like that book. Anyway, The Atlas Six is about a group of people who, I feel like this is like fantasy / speculative fiction, because anytime I hear someone talking about this book, they're like, well, I don't really know what it's about. And I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna buy it. Like, it's not gonna stop me from buying it that nobody knows what it's actually about. So it's about a group of people who basically are brought into this program, I believe, and they are trying to join some secret society, I think, whatever. Yeah, welcome to the Alexandrian Society. World's best magicians are offered opportunity. Only 6 practitioners are invited to fill 5 places. So basically it's a story about who's going to be picked last in volleyball, which is really sad, actually. I don't know anything about this book. I wonder if the 6th person dies. It seems like a book that would do that, right? And then they each have powers, it looks like. So 6 people have powers trying to get into a secret society. I mean, what could be better than this? So this probably we'll get to in April. If you're not taking me seriously, then you're learning. You should learn that means nothing when I say that. So now we're down to the last 5 books. Hopefully I counted right at the beginning. But we're down to the last 5 books, and they are Book of the Month books. I love Book of the Month. This is not an ad, I just really like it. And I get a lot of books from Book of the Month. Oh, they're at like the top of my shelf, but yeah, you can't see them because it cuts off right there. But maybe I'll show you guys that another time. But there's a lot, and I have a lot more upstairs too. Book of the Month is basically taking over my house. So the first one that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to keep it short because I've already read it and I have a lot of feelings about it. This was one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. I feel like with everybody, it was the most anticipated book of the entire year. And it is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. A lot of people like this book. It was fine. It was fine. I think my expectations were too high. They were very high. So The Book of Cold Cases is a book about a woman who is true crime obsessed, because who isn't? Really, who isn't? And she writes a blog and in her free time. And she kind of writes this blog to deal with traumas from when she was a child. She was a kidnapping victim, and she holds a lot of guilt because she managed to get away. And the girl after her wasn't so lucky. So she has a lot of guilt. She spends her time holed up in her house. Again, who doesn't nowadays? But she uses basically the blog to cope with her guilt and her feelings of the world just being too big. So she basically has like a cult following now on this little blog. She is obsessed with a case from her hometown, and she's written about it a few times. She's read every article about it, and she doesn't really think too much about it until the woman who is an accused murderer shows up at the office that she works at, and she manages to convince the woman to give her an interview, even though this woman never gives out interviews. So the whole book is her trying to figure out who actually killed this woman. It's just, there's a lot going on. There's multiple murders. It's almost a little, I don't know how to describe this book, because I thought it would be a lot different than it was. So I guess I'll keep it at that, because I'd be talking about this forever. But I did finish this one. I'll talk about it in my wrap up. On to a book that I actually was surprised that I liked so much. Another book of the month book is Dating Dr. Dill. This is what I was talking about, what type of romance that I read. Like, they're still a little spicy, but they all have like this art on it, which I feel like so many romance have this kind of art on them now. This was a really cute book. This was fun. I actually thought I'd hate it at the beginning. So again, I read this book already. It's about a woman whose family basically thinks that she's pretty much an old maid at this point, that she's never gonna get married. Her family's obsessed with marriage. Her sister's engaged, so they're all excited about the younger sister getting married, but she's the older sister. She should have been married by now. So she decides to, for reasons I won't say, fake date this TV doctor. It is very fun. It is funny. I love both of these characters. Her family can be really annoying at sometimes, so you kind of have to like take a step back from them and just focus on the main characters. It's really fun. So I highly suggest this to anybody who loves romance, but also anybody who doesn't, because it's just a fun read. It's quick. It's a little long, but it's really fun. So quick, easy read. Nice palate cleanser for some other maybe more hard-hitting books that you're currently reading. Very fun. The next book that I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm really excited, and I do plan to finish in March. I am not lying, because I've made one of my goals for this year is if I buy book of the month books, I have to read them in the month that I buy them. So I've managed to read 2 of the 5. So I only have like 5 days left to read 3 books. I'm halfway through another one, and I just started another one I'm about to talk about. I have not started this one yet. So I have a lot of reading to do in the next 5 days. Because it's March 25th today that I'm recording this. Hopefully I can't fail. It's not gonna happen. So this is called The Verifiers by Jane Peck. And apparently it's just a cute mystery book. I really like cozy mysteries, so I hope this is more on like the cozy side than a thriller, because I haven't read a cozy mystery in a really long time. This is a queer story. The main character is dealing with family who has a bunch of expectations for her, especially about who she's dating. But she prefers women, which is not something that her family particularly approves of, which is unfortunate. So she runs an online dating detective agency, which I don't know what is, but it sounds fun. And one of her clients goes missing, so she's got to track them down, which I think is really fun. So I think this should be a quick read. I hope. So I may start this today if I can get through one of my other 2 book of the month books that I've already started. So wish me luck. Oh boy. Okay. This is the book that I'm halfway through and I am struggling with, and it is The Cartographers. I was really excited about this book. This was like my pick. Well, besides the Book of Cold Cases. This was my other pick for this month because it sounded very National Treasure, mystery, intrigue kind of thing. And it's basically about a woman who studies maps for a living, and her father mysteriously passes away at his desk at the New York Public Library, and she has to figure out what it has to do with this old, weird, seemingly unvaluable map. That's pretty much the whole story. It's a pretty hefty book. I'm about a little less than halfway through. Yeah, a little less than halfway through. And I'm dragging my feet on this one. This one's tough. This one has been tough, but I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna finish it because I'm intrigued enough to finish it. I'm not gonna DNF this, hopefully. And to the last book on our list for this month, and I'm actually filming this on the 25th so that I don't buy any more books this month, because there's a few books that are coming out at the end of the month that I really want, but I'm going to wait until April to get them if I get them. I'm trying to get through some books I already have. That was one of my goals for this year, is to get through books on my shelf, which I've read most of them down here. Most of the books down here I've read. It's the books upstairs that you guys are not seeing that I haven't read, and there's a lot of them. So anyway, last book that I got from Book of the Month is March. Another one very excited about. Ignore my gashed copy. I don't know what happened. It came in perfect condition. Book of the Month is great about that. Came in perfect condition. I don't know if I set something on it and didn't pay attention, but it is. This is a nice gash right there. Anyway, it is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Basically, it's about a woman who goes to stay with her foster brother. So they're not like technically siblings, I don't think, at least as far as I understand so far. Is they met in the foster system. He got out successful. She didn't. She had some troubles, and she's run into some troubles that we don't know about. Like, we don't know what her troubles are. So she asks him to stay with him for a little while. He begrudgingly agrees. We don't know why he begrudgingly agreed, but he lives in Paris. So she shows up at his apartment and he is missing. So, and there's some weird stuff going on at this apartment complex. It's very strange, very eerie. I am not very far into it. I just started it because I needed a break from the Cartographers. And I started after I just finished reading Jurassic Park and the Lost World. So I thought this was a good next book to start. So this is fun so far. Should be pretty quick once I like sit down and actually read it. I'm in a little bit of a book slump because of the Cartographers. Also the Lost World. I'll probably have a video about it. I really like Jurassic Park. I did not like the Lost World that much, so I'm just like compounding books that I have not liked together, which is not doing great things for my reading. But I should be able to finish this relatively quickly. It reads very fast. The chapters are like 3 pages long per chapter. Love that. That's one of my favorite things in a thriller. I hate reading long chapters in a thriller because I feel like they just go on forever. So anyway, missing brother. She's got to figure out what's going on. Pretty standard. Oh god, that gash. Pretty standard for a thriller. And that is my book haul. That is all the books that I got in March. It could have been a lot worse. There were a lot of books that came out in March that I really liked, and books that didn't come out in March that I wanted that came out before. So thank you for joining my book haul. I know it was a little chaotic. There was a lot of different genres and stuff going on. So comment down below if you found something that you want to read, or if I have no idea what the book is about and I totally botched the summary, which is definitely possible since I didn't know what most of these books were about. Comment down below on your thoughts on the books. No spoilers, please, but I would like to know some opinions. I want to know if anyone's read the Cartographers and if you guys liked it or not, especially. And maybe the Book of Cold Cases. I want to hear someone else's opinion on the Book of Cold Cases that was positive. because maybe my light just went out. Light went out and I don't feel like fixing it because my computer died. So I would love to hear somebody else's opinion on the Book of Cold Cases that enjoyed it, because I feel like I just had it hyped up too much and I would have liked it better if I came in with like lower expectations. So anyway, thank you for watching my video. Like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.